Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to show you how I made this Wakanda inspired costume. In today's video will show you how I made this helmet. Hey guys, I'm just gonna put a voiceover because I live next to the train station, and as you can hear, every time I try to speak, the train passes, so I'm not even going to bother. Cue in voiceover. Yay, finally my craft materials arrived. So I ordered a lot of craft things to make this costume just before we went into a lockdown. And if you didn't know, in Sydney we went into a lockdown in June and it only arrived now, so it was late in arriving. For the helmet, I'm using this light gray EVA foam, which is 5mm thick. And for the pattern of the helmet, I could not find a pattern that I was going for. I looked on Etsy and I looked on other platforms where I normally buy my patterns for my cosplay, and I could not find a pattern that suited what I wanted. So I ended up improvising and I went with two patterns for two different things. So this is a pattern from Kamui Cosplay and it's a helmet pattern, and I just used part of the helmet. And then I also used a mask from Kamui Cosplay, so you'll see it's not really a full pattern, but it came out really nicely. It suited my face and it fit perfectly. So all I'm doing now is I'm just tracing these two patterns onto this little piece of EVA foam. And so what I do is I just trace both the front and the back. So I do the front and the back, and with the ears I had to just do my own pattern because there were no ears pattern that I really wanted, so I just designed my own ear patterns. Next, I just use my box cutters to cut out the pattern, and I just take all the pattern size that's for the right side and I put them on their own, and then the left side, and then I put them on their own. Once I finish cutting, I just lay out my pattern how it should go. So I put the front of the helmet, the sides, and then I put the mask part which goes on the front, and the ears where they're supposed to go, so that I see how I should start sticking it all together. Then I take my miniature Dremel and I just try and fix the eyes, the part where the eyes will be. I just try and fix it so that it's nice and smooth. At this point I realize my pattern is back to front, so it's supposed to be swapped over the other side, so I just quickly do that. Next, I'm bringing out this little paper that has a design of the detail part of my helmet, and this is what the helmet looks like. So this is the detail on the top part of my helmet, and I like to use my marker pen and just mark it out. And here I'm just checking on my phone to see if it's accurate, and I'm putting in all the detail. And once I've filled in all the detail, what I'll do next is I'll take my box cutter and then I'll cut lightly. So instead of cutting all the way through, I just cut lightly. So I just use it lightly and not cut all the way through, just over those details, so that I give the helmet a bit more detail. You'll see once everything's put together how it looks. Some people actually prefer to do this once they've assembled everything. I prefer doing it once it's all laid down. It just works that way for me. So this is how I do it, and this has worked for me. And once I finish going over my design with my box cutter, I take my heat gun. So This is my heat gun, and I just heat out the top of the pattern that I've traced over. And you can see on this one, my heat gun was too hot and it burnt the EVA foam, but that's still fine. That always happens all the time. Just have a look at how the detail pops up after I use the heat gun. So don't worry about those white marks. Once I paint over it, you won't see it, but the detail will remain. To attach my helmet together, I'm using this glue. It's called contact cement, and I just put it into this squeezy bottle just because it's easier. And how it works is you put the glue on two parts that you want to stick together, leave it for a few minutes, and once it's tacky or once it's shiny, you can stick the two parts together. So I like to work in multiple potions. That's why you see I'm putting a lot of glue on different parts. I'm going to just put glue, leave it for a few minutes, and then I'll just stick all these parts together.
Moments later.
After a few minutes, my glue is dry, and I just attach the two sections that need to be attached together. And you can see that some parts or some sections that I'm attaching have got a curve to it. So when there's a curve, I like to just squeeze it in a bit more so that it holds the shape that I want. And so I'll just continue sticking my pieces together, and then I'll put my glue onto the next sections that need to be glued together. So as you can see, this part that's in the middle that I'm sticking right now, that's a mask, and then this part that I'm holding is part of a helmet. So I've put two patterns together to make my pattern, or to make out the pattern that I wanted. So it doesn't really look like it's anything at the moment, but once I finish, you'll see what it will look like.
More moments later.
This mask part, I have to put the contact cement and just separate the two sections until it's dry, and as soon as I let go, they want to come together, and I just try and separate them. I leave them to dry while I'm putting the other parts together. So if you don't know what contact cement is, if you're in Africa, this is the one they use to fix your shoes when they're broken. So it's the same method, the same way they just put the glue on both sides of the parts they want to stick, and once it's dry, they stick the two sides together. So that's exactly how I'm doing it. And this EVA foam, the material that I'm using, if you can't find it, you can actually look for it in gym mats. So most gym mats are made of EVA foam, and if you can't find gym mats, you can use, you know, the kids play mats. Some of them are also made of EVA foam. And my apologies, I keep putting the thing that I'm sticking up where you can't see, and I keep forgetting that I'm filming. It's my first time to actually film myself making costume. I always make costume and I never film, so this is me learning. And so that's the mask, it's finished, and now I'm attaching it to the left side of the helmet, and then I'll attach it onto the right side of the helmet, and then I'll stick the center part. And you can see it actually fit pretty well, even though these were two different patterns. I really like how it came out, and especially when I put it on my face, oh my gosh, it fit perfectly to my face, because I have a really tiny nose, and the other patterns that I could see, the nose was a bit off or too big, and even the eyes were a bit not centered the way I wanted. And so this mask, when I saw the pattern, I was like, this will go with exactly what I want. Finally, I'm putting the last part of the helmet together, and when I stick it, you can see how nice it looks. Look at how snug it fits on my face, guys. It looks like it was made for my face. It fits like a glove. I'm pretty happy with this pattern. And you can see where I burnt my EVA foam, but it's fine. So now I need to attach the ears, and I need to figure out where they go. and I'm just gonna mark it out with my marker pen, and I might trim these ears a bit because they look really big. And then I'm gonna use my mannequin head, which I just placed on the side, to see where my ears go. Here you will see I'm also shaping this part, which is part of the crown or the tiara of the costume. And so I'm just shaping it so that I can stick it together when I do the ears as well. And I'm just snipping it and making sure that it's the right size. And now I can attach the ears. So I just use the same method with my contact cement. And once I finish sticking the ears, I stick the crown. So that's what the helmet looks like, and I can see the ears are too big, they're too pointy, and so now I need to just cut or trim these ears down. And so I'm doing it on the left side and it looks so much better. And then I'm going to use the small piece that I cut out to mark out the same size for the right side. Remember I told you I used 2 different patterns to make out this helmet. I need to add a bit more detail on my helmet, so the side needs to be defined a bit more. So to add my definition or the shape of my definition, I'm just using some more EVA foam, and I'm just measuring and cutting to size. And whatever I do on the left side, I'll do on the right side as well. And so this is how I'm doing it. This is not per se the right way to do it, but this is how I'm doing it. And then I'm also marking out my detail, and then I'll heat it up with a glue gun, and then I'll stick it. So adding these small pieces to my helmet will give it a 3D look, which is nice for the helmet. Now I'm just gonna show you 2 pieces. So these 2 pieces, this is the one on the right side, I've heated it with the glue gun, and then the one on the left, I've swapped them around, but one of them has been heated up with a glue gun and then one hasn't been heated up. So you can see the difference in texture. This one hasn't been heated up and now I'm heating it up. This heat gun is very hot. Try not to put your fingers near it. It will burn your hands, and I always use it this way, which is not safe, but I have a lot of experience using it. So try to just put it on the floor and then just heat it up. And if you see, when I heat it up, the design pops out really well. So look at that, it looks really nice. And finally, I'm going to add some more details on the side as well. So some more foam to make a curve on the side so that it has a 3-dimension look as well. And then I'll mark out the details, use my heat gun, and then stick it on as well. So whatever I do on the left side, I'll also do on the right side. And then once that's done, my helmet will be complete. So this is the complete design. You can see how the added details on the side makes a difference. It gives it a 3-dimension look, and then once I paint over it and then cover all those parts, it will look even better. Next, I decided to take my foam dowels. So these are 5mm half dowels, and they're all EVA foam as well. And I'm just making the tiara part, so the part that will go on the tiara. I just say I almost ruined my helmet. I used this gloss and I thought it was my primer, and I realized halfway that I had put gloss and I stopped. And so I'm just gonna try and paint over it and see if it works. And this is the paint that I'm using. I'm using FX Plaid, the smooth black cosplay edition. And so I love this paint. It's very thick and it spreads evenly, and even when you don't brush it on smoothly, it's smoothing out on itself. Like, I don't know how, it's magic. And I was worried because I put the gloss on the helmet. I thought it wasn't gonna paint properly. When I did the first coat, it looked like it was gonna just slide off, but when I did my second and third coat, it looked really nice. It looked much better. And so all I'm doing is just covering the whole helmet in black, and then I'm going to do my half dowels with gold and also with silver. So some parts will have silver and some parts will have gold. Guys, this is a free tip that I'm going to give you. Thank me later. So I always like painting on cardboard box, and I always use my sewing pins because I can just stick something that I'm painting onto my cardboard with the pin, and it stays put, it doesn't move around. And so this is what I'm doing here. I just use my pins to stick onto the board, and then I'm painting. So this is the silver that I'm using. I don't have FX paint in silver, but I have this metallic silver that's for my airbrush. I had to do at least 3 coats of all the paints for the colors to actually pop. I actually let my paint dry for about an hour, and then I came back. It was a bit chilly, so I had my morning gown on, and then I did the second coat. So that's the second coat going, and then I came back again later and I did the final third coat, and it looked perfect. The painting is finally done. Check out the detail on this helmet. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy with it. I'm so happy with the details. I actually prefer to put my details before I stick everything together, because I find when I stick everything together, like when I stick my helmet together and then I try and cut the detail and then I use the heat gun, I find that my helmet actually splits and it opens. You know how the sections opened up? I find that happens when I stick, so I prefer to do it before I stick it together. And this looks amazing. I'm very proud to have made this, and I know people might say you can just buy this from the shop, but when you make something yourself, it looks much more better, and then it actually fits my face perfectly because it's custom made for me. And now what I'm doing is I'm just going to put all the detail. So it's the same process. I'm using my contact cement and I'll just stick the dolls onto the helmet. Now that I've finished, I'm just going to take my paint and paint the edges of all my dolls. Because I had put the pins, the edges need to just have a coat of paint on them. And so once I'm done, all that's left is for me to put the beads. So the helmet does also have some beads, and I was really excited about that part. After an hour, I just touched my helmet to make sure it was dry, and now I'm gonna start beading. And I'm using this jewellery clasp, and I've put 4 sets of thread onto my needle, so I've doubled it, and I'm going to just put my needle through, and I'm looking for the center. And once I pull the needle on the other side, that clasp will hold my thread into position. And so I'm going to bead down to somewhere there, and then from there I'm gonna split the thread, and I'll put 2 threads on one side and the other 2 on the other side. When I finish one side, I put a stopper bead on the back, and then I tie my thread together, and then I use my sticky tape to hold it down so it doesn't move. And now I'm using the other 2 thread to thread exactly the same on the other side. And then to secure the beads in position, I'm just going to use my contact cement, and once it's dry, I'm going to stick it together. So this is what the helmet looks like. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. It has some beading details on the front as well. And so I attached 2 things. So I attached this thing on the bottom so that it will hold these 2, are they teeth? On the front. And then I also attached an elastic band with Velcro strap at the back. So that is how I wear my costume. That is how I wear my helmet. And so the accessory that goes with my helmet, so I already have my braids, which I've had for so long, so please don't judge my hairstyle. I was trying to finish and then film this before. You can see my braids have some vibranium inside, so I put purple extensions, and then I just braided this strand, and I put the purple cord on the bottom. So this is how I attach this, and this is how I put on my helmet. I'll show you. So this has a bit of an punchy on the end, so it's quite stretchy, and so I just put it on over my braid like this, and it goes to the back like that, and then I'll occasionally bring it to the front like that. And so I'm going to put on my helmet and then I'll fix my beads. So this is my helmet, it looks very nice. And I'll show you, I'll just turn around. So there's the little elastic with Velcro. Queen Shuri from Marvel's Realm of Champions.